Hey folks, welcome back to week 10 of Visual Design. Okay, now that we've played around with some new features in Illustrator for a bit of the week, let's take a look at our first project in Illustrator. Now, of course, this project is going to use all of the tools and skills that we've already gone over in Illustrator, so make sure you've been practicing with them. This will help you complete this project pretty easily. All right, so let's take a look. So under our projects folder in Canvas, under Files, you are going to find this project here, which is Project 2, Pieces, Parts, Pieces. Let's take a look at it. So this is Project 2, Pieces, Parts, Pieces. The theme is architectural rendering. Now, of course, most of my assignments all have themes. It just tells you a little bit about something outside of our class that is related to what we're doing here. So architectural rendering, sometimes known as architectural illustration, is the art of creating two-dimensional images or animations showing the attributes of a proposed architectural design. You have probably seen these. If you've ever driven by a construction site for a large building or complex, you will oftentimes see sort of an artistic rendering of what it's going to look like. So this talks a little bit about what architectural rendering is all about. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort of make our own simplified architectural rendering of a house using Illustrator. And you're going to start out with a simple house and you're going to make it a more complex, sort of tricked out house. Okay, so directions using the included Adobe Illustrator file. So you will see that in the projects folder under Project 2 that there is an Illustrator file named house.ai. So if you download that too and open it up, you'll see that this is your project file. So you can actually do your project right here in this assignment. You do have to rename it so that I know that it's yours, but other than that, you can work directly in this Illustrator file. We'll get back to this in a second. Let's take a look at the assignment. So using the included Illustrator file, house.ai, you are to recreate the included very simple house rendering in the blank space to the right. Once recreated, you are then to expand upon it or trick it out into a wacky or simply more elaborate house. You can alter the existing house any way you would like, and or you can add additional items, turning this modest house into a mansion of sorts. Be sure to add color to your house as well. Now, of course, the tools are everything that we've covered so far: the shape tools, the selection tool, the direct selection tool, alignment and distribution, the Pathfinder palette, and of course the ability to add color to fills and strokes. Make sure that you are naming it as shown here. The size is already predetermined, so you don't really have to worry about that. Now, of course, I do add a little extra credit. If you'd like, you can use some of the same tools and techniques and create a person to stand outside your house. It can be a little cartoon person or a graphic, whatever you would like. Now, if you'd like to learn more about architectural rendering, of course, you can check out this link, but let's talk about how we're going to actually do the project. So going back over to Illustrator, like I said, you guys here have this really basic house that I drew for you. Where you can start your work. And if you look at the layers palette, you'll see that it is organized. There is a layer for the house roof, right, which is this here. If I were to shut the eyeball off, the roof goes away, right? And then there's house body, whereas if I shut the eyeball off there, the body goes away. And if you look at the sub layers underneath, they are also named. We have door, left upper window, middle upper window, right upper window, so on and so forth. So it's nice and organized. And if you were to just click on the ball to the right of each of them, like right upper window, you see it selects the entire window. So that's pretty great too. Okay, now your job is to duplicate this house and then basically turn it into something more elaborate. Now, in the past, I've had students turn it into mansions, really fancy mansions. I've had students turn it into haunted houses, particularly when we teach this class around October. You can do whatever you want with it. Just have some fun with it for sure, but make it much more interesting than this. Now, as far as duplicating it goes, you really have two options. You can either take pieces of it, which is why I've organized the layers palette really nicely. So, for example, if you just wanted the roof, you could just grab the ball to the right of the roof and then simply option, drag, and duplicate the whole roof. Now you've got the roof again. And you could sort of start from there. In fact, if you wanted to, you could give the house two roofs, right? And then go from there. Or if you wanted to just grab a single thing, like, for example, the attic window, you could just choose that and then bring that over there, and now you can use it as many different ways as you want. So duplicating certainly helps. I am also not saying you can't duplicate the entire house. You could simply lasso the whole house, duplicate it, bring it over here, and then start adding things to it and really kind of trick it out. You could do that too, whatever works for you. Or you could go and simply draw it from scratch all over again. It's entirely up to you how you want to make this. The first thing you should do is really investigate how this house is built by really taking a close look at all the sublayers and then all the individual shapes underneath each sublayer. So for example, that's just the doorknob right there. So definitely take some time to see how this is assembled, because that'll help you sort of understand how to build a new house. Now, notice that everything here is an actual shape, with the exception of the smoke coming out of the top is just two separate lines, but everything else is a completed shape. So meaning that if I were to highlight the entire house except for the smoke, and if I were to add a fill to it, we'll just go with like this light blue color here, you see that I can literally fill the entire thing with color because they're all completed shapes. So if you add any new things to your house, make sure that they are completed shapes, right? This way you can color it nice and easily, okay? So that's that. So think about how you want to make the house bigger and better and more interesting, right? Use the techniques that we went over already, and I really look forward to what you're doing. Now, as far as when this is due, well, lots of time to work on it. So we're assigning it this week in week 10. You can start working on it this week after you've had time to play around with all the tools we've covered in Illustrator and really get comfortable with it. Don't forget the training videos and the pages from Adobe to help out too. Practice, 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 right? And then next week is week 11. We're going to get into drawing in Illustrator, but you'll still be able to continue working on Project 2. It's not due next week, but it is due week 12. So you'll see that Project 2 is due during week 12, and you can check the due date in Canvas. They've all been adjusted. All right, so you basically get 2 full weeks to work on this thing, so take your time with it. I want to see some really amazing and interesting houses, okay? All right, you guys get to it, and I will talk to you soon. As usual, if you need anything, be sure to email me. All right, hope you are all well and safe.